Colorado expects to start Ryan Staub at quarterback against Houston on Friday night. And wow, did we expect this to happen at the start of the season? Absolutely not. Let's talk about why this is happening, what this means, and where we go from here. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football. We talk football year-round. If you're into that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Like this video and answer the question in the comments below. Do you expect to see QB3 at the start of the season, Ryan Staub, become the starter by week 3 of the season at Colorado? Because I sure as hell didn't. This was nowhere on my college football bingo card. This news was first reported by Pete Thamel at ESPN, and there were lots of signs that this was probably the direction that Coach Prime and Pat Shurmur were going to go with their offense that struggled against Georgia Tech and struggled to start the game against Delaware and then found a rhythm with Ryan Staub. Like, the stats are there, 7 of 10 for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. But you could see how much the offense changed into something that looked like functional and had shape and had form, with a guy behind center that understood the scheme, understood the weapons at his disposal, and then was able to get the ball into the end zone by throwing it for the first time all day against the Blue Hens. Again, it's Delaware, but you needed to get this sorted out. And I was really surprised to see Ryan Staub get an opportunity to run the offense in the second quarter. So I have to credit Coach Prime and Pat Shurmur for also going with something they saw in practice, and with going with a guy that was backing up Shedeur Sanders the last couple of years. A dude that had said, look, I had dreamed of this. I wanted to do this. And then, Prime being Prime, drops in there Martin Luther Staub. And I think some of y'all take that just a little too far, but I enjoyed it, and I think it's cool. And then we got video that Deion Sanders handed the game ball to Ryan Staub at the end of the Blue Hens game. And then Monday, there were reports that Ryan Staub was getting the reps with the first team, and that the staff had made clear that he was going to be the starter going into the game against Houston. And he'd been on the team since Prime had got there. Matter of fact, he's one of those guys that not only survived, but thrived since arriving at Colorado. There's a couple of those guys that stick out every now and again that weren't high-profile transfers, but guys that they really enjoyed and wanted to keep around. And still, I didn't expect Kaidon Salter to sit the bench or Julian Lewis to sit the bench for a guy like Ryan Staub. His emergence has been really cool. Like, Deion Sanders even said, when he's talking about the quarterback and the future of the position, I'm not lost for direction, meaning he understands where he needs to go and what he wants to do with that offense. I am excited to see what Ryan Staub can do against this Houston team, because they got a 5-star quarterback in Connor Wigman, who I also think is pretty damn good. And as far as the rest of the season, I know that there are those that are already going to say that Julian Lewis should jump into the portal, that Kaidon Salter should also, if he's got a red shirt left, I don't think he does, but he should sit down somewhere and try to find somewhere else to play, because that's the nature of the sport. And I would tell anybody to listen. Coach Prime has known Kaidon Salter for a very long time, coached against him in high school, saw him come up. Salter, who was at Tennessee for a little bit before getting in trouble, ended up at Liberty, having a great career at Liberty, led that team to a conference championship and to a New Year's Six Bowl berth. Julian Lewis, who was committed to USC at one point, 5-star quarterback, a point guard on the field, if you like what you've seen from John Mateer at Oklahoma is what we expect to see in the future from Julian Lewis at Colorado. But now Ryan Staub has basically flipped the script on all of this and reset the board at quarterback with his play against Delaware. Now, with this step up and this first Big 12 game, which is all important, and if you want to win championships, you got to win games like this one. And if you want to make the college football playoff, you got to win games like this one. We're going to probably see Ryan Staub not necessarily get the longest leash to go out there and do what he needs to do. He might have a short hook, because you'll know that you want to keep Kaidon Salter and Julian Lewis engaged for as long as you possibly can before we start talking about, what the quarterback position is going to look like for them even next week. the idea that you played all three, and then not just that, you started Kaidon Salter, who didn't play badly. The offense just didn't look great. You went 13 to 16 over the course of the game. You brought in Julian Lewis. The game is just a little too fast for him. It's a little bit more different when the defense is allowed to hit you, and your athleticism needs to show up in a big way. And then we saw Ryan Staub when you were basically down 10 to 7, and he stretched it into a 2-score lead. Coming out in third quarter, we saw more Ryan Staub, and then we saw Kaidon Salter to end the game, and that's where we landed. But again, watch the game, watch the tape, watch the kind of body language that you see from the Colorado sideline and how excited they are and how they know they got a guy. Watch how Sincere Brown makes outstanding plays in the passing game. Watch how the run game continues to work and come alive. Like, one of the really undercovered stories for Colorado this year is their run game, which has been remarkably better in 2025 than it was in 2023, than it was in 2024. And yes, they're having to replace not just Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, but 4 of their top receivers in LeJohntay Wester, Will Shepherd, Jimmy Horn, and of course, Travis Hunter. And you're looking for guys that can step up. You're expecting Draylon Miller to be there. I think Michael Welch is their RB1. And then Sincere Brown is a guy that I had picked out in the preseason going, this is a dude that can really help you. Started out South Florida, went to Campbell, comes out at Colorado. And now we're talking about, again, Kaidon Salter, who's got those 2 starts, who average 131 yards passing per game. You get 157 in basically 2 quarters from Ryan Staub. You need to score more points, and you need to stop people scoring more points. And against this Houston team, the defense has been a problem. Like, they are allowing just 4.5 points per game. You could probably stay with them offensively if Ryan Staub continues to be the guy that he is. But again, it's Connor Wigman's like 30 of 46 for 347 over the course of the 2 games. They got an outstanding tailback in Dean Connors, who's got 28 rushes for 182 yards. And they've got a couple of players themselves at wide receiver. Tanner Kozoil also comes to mind for me. But I guess we could say we saw this coming. But until such a time as you see it with your own eyes and you hear it from a credible source like Pete Thamel at ESPN, and then the birds are chirping all over at Colorado because all of a sudden they feel real good. Now, Ryan Staub turns into a 3,000-yard passer for them, and they end up winning 10 games. I think we're going to start to have to talk about Prime as a guy who's developing quarterbacks as well, right? We know he developed Shedeur. We have not seen him develop out of high school yet, but this would be an opportunity to do that with a guy like Ryan Staub. And knowing that you have a guy like Ryan Staub who could stick around for you and then still get this opportunity, it's going to do wonders for your recruiting in state and your recruiting, frankly, out of high school at a time when it's been very clear that Prime is not all there on high school. He wants to go into the portal as much as he needs to. But when you got a guy like this, a redshirt sophomore coming out of, Stevenson Ranch, West Ranch, I think it's, and he's passed for 3,000 yards. And, what you have from that in California. I think you give him a shot, and they gave him a shot, and he's running with it. Congratulations to Ryan Staub, who's going to be a starting quarterback at a Power 4 university the first time in his career.